It's a good start. Let's look at these things then. I'm going to show you two texts. One of them is going to be a poem, one of them is going to be a prose. You're going to know which one is which right away. But we'll really talk about why. I'm going to read this one, because I love the sound of my own voice. Rain on the face of the sea, rain on the sodden land, and the window pane is blurred with rain as I watch it, pen in hand. Mist on the face of the sea, mist on the sodden land, filling the veils as daylight fails, and blotting the desolate sand. Prose or poetry?
Poetry.
Poetry. What are some ways that we know that this is poetry? Some we already mentioned. We got some rhymes in there, right? Absolutely.
The same word is used over again.
Yeah, we got some repetition in there. Excellent, good. Again, repetition in prose just sounds sometimes like it's just repeating stuff, right? Because you're trying to fill up the page. Is there any rhythm to this?
Yes.
Yeah, so we definitely have a meter in place. All right, here's example 2. When warm rain falls through cooler air, water evaporates from the warm rain. It subsequently condenses in the air, in the cool air, forming fog. Such fog can be quite dense. It generally will persist as long as the rain continues. Since temperature rises little during the day, there is little diurnal variation in rain-induced fog. Improvement in visibility cannot be expected until the rain stops or moves out of the affected area. What do we have here? Prose. And really boring prose? Probably, right? Okay, how do we know that this is prose? Yeah.
There's no rhythm or repetition.
There's nothing, right? There's definitely no rhythm, no sort of pattern to it. What else?
It's like a passage.
Yeah, it feels like a passage, right? So you're even kind of seeing it. Like, what did we do? We indented. Where were the line breaks here?
Oh, only when the periods are.
Yeah, only when the periods are, right? Good. Other things that make this a prose.
Language illustrations or information.
Yeah, tell me about the language.
It's more scientific or bigger words.
Yeah, exactly. Like these words like diurnal variation, right? Or subsequently condenses, right? Good, so word choice sometimes plays a role. Anything else that makes this prose? All right, so we're going to actually do some things. Some differences, right? A lot of these you've already talked about. Both these examples involve descriptions of weather events, right? We got that, right? Fog in one and the other. But are clearly very different. For one thing, the first example is told in verse, right? Which is writing that's arranged in a rhythm as you identified, and typically having a rhyme, which you identified. Now what we're going to consider are some other differences between these two pieces. So what I'm going to give you here is I'm going to give you a little chart. And you're going to work just with some people right around you, maybe groups of 4, kind of cluster up, and I'll give you each one so you can have it. But cluster up in a group of 4, or wherever's kind of like good for you. So like a 3 is probably really good for you all. We'll take a look at this chart and I'll tell you what it is that you're going to work for. Do you want to, maybe piece of yours up there so you're doing that for? And then maybe you all want to be a 4? Make sure you include Ms. Watt in it too.
I cannot be
If you'd like to be included. Do y'all want to be a 4? Awesome.
I really like it.
Do y'all want to be a 4? Is that a good 4? Or you want to be a 4 that way? You want to be a 2?
Can I blow my toes again?
Okay.
Do what you gotta do.
You do, don't you? Is she always this way, or is this just because it's filming?
I'm just a nice person.
Okay, so let's do a 4 there. And how about you want to do a 2 here?
You really do.
Okay, so this is what you're going to do in a second. I'm going to put both examples back up on the board, the prose and the poem. Okay? And what I'm going to ask for you to do is to think about what is different among these and their traits. In other words, what's the purpose of example 1, which was the poem? And what's the purpose of example 2? Spend a little time kind of looking back at them. I'll put them back up here on the board. What about point of view? What do I mean by point of view? What's that term mean, point of view? Yeah, from whose perspective it's being told, right? So what do you notice about the point of view in these 2 examples? What do I mean by the word imagery?
Paints you a picture.
It's partly your imagination, right? And it's more specific?
Paints you a picture.
It does, usually through senses, right? So what it looks like, sounds like, tastes like, okay? That's imagery. What does forms mean?
Like the style.
Yeah, style and structure and how it's formatted in there. Excellent. All right. So talk for, I think it's probably going to take you maybe less than 5, 10 minutes at the absolute most. Talk in your groups about what you notice about the purpose, point of view, and imagery of both. Let me put both back up here so you can kind of have them in mind there. and write it right there on that little half sheet.